Hi, everyone, and welcome to Woo Woo. Today's guest is near and dear to my heart, spiritually, emotionally, metaphysically. Today, I'm bringing you my metaphysical mentor, Michael Philpott. Hi, Michael. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really pumped to be on your show today.
Dude, I'm pumped to have you. A lot of you guys might not know he's like the godfather for my spiritual podcast journey. Michael is Canadian, he's our neighbor from above. And I was working on the border of Canada. I was up in Montana filming a show, and I don't know how Spotify just thought that I needed you. But I think it went much deeper than that, because when I heard your voice and heard your stories and heard your guests, I was so inspired. And I was just like, man, this guy is like, in my head, keep in mind too, I'm not sure if I got onto Joe Dispenza because of you, but I did training and teachings through Joe and through the Monroe Institute. And you literally were like the gateway drug of all things metaphysics for me. And I feel like you're kind of my secret weapon, and people who follow my social media, they've seen me post about you and talk about you and your wonderful talents, but I just don't think people realize how you're probably responsible for a lot of people's awakenings and their soul journeys. And if you're not responsible, then you have a strong helping hand. So it means
Well,
the world
I'll
that you
I
could
will
be
I
in.
will take I'll take full responsibility for that. If that's the one thing that I can take full responsibility of, I would be absolutely grateful for that. But yeah, that's that's really kind. Thank God you can't see me blushing right now because the lighting's out there. But yeah, yeah, you know what, Ray? I mean, I never really expected really to do this. I had an idea that what I wanted to accomplish through the podcast. I just knew for myself and just over the years of working with people, it's just that a lot of people are hurting and they just need a little bit of guidance. And that's basically what I was doing. But I couldn't reach, there's only so many people you can reach on a daily basis. And,
Yeah.
podcasting is like the perfect platform to do that. And I've been through a lot in my life, and there was a lot of things that I've been through, some pitfalls, things that along my journey that I thought maybe if I can just steer people the right way, there'd be a lot less suffering and a lot less trials and tribulations that they can navigate a little bit easier. And if I could find the right guest that would inspire them to take an action or do something about their life or just trigger something within them to start their healing journey, then I've done my job. So that's kind of where it really is. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, you have such a healing energy about you and your storytelling. And I guess it's not even fair to call it storytelling, because it's the truth. You're speaking truth, you're speaking your truth, definitely giving your guests a platform to do the same thing. And now I get to do that with you, because I want to know, like, and you might have covered it in your earlier episodes, so forgive me if I'm covering old ground. And also, you
No,
guys, you can definitely, I'm going to plug it early, but the Metaphysical Mentor podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, any other platforms?
yeah, Rumble. I just started launching programs on Rumble too as well, so you can watch it there. Yeah, but I think you got it all.
How many episodes do you have in total right now?
I just started recording, so I'm hoping to have at least 90 episodes uploaded. I'm doing bi-weekly. It's just I don't have the energy and the like I used to. So
Great. I personally am excited, and several of my friends recently, I've been kind of giddy and sharing. I'm like, yeah, I get to interview my mentor. I've actually been thinking about doing like a mentor series, because you're one of them, and then several other people kind of come into my life that you're a beautiful net that I want to share with the community. And so I've been thinking about doing a mentor series, but it didn't feel right without you. So I think it's perfect timing that we
mm,
connected again. I do want to ask, how and when did your first psychic experience show up? Or, you know what? I'm not even going to box it into psychic. When was your first unexplainable supernatural experience?
Oh, geez. Well, I was very much a late bloomer. I didn't really have anything in childhood. I was a very sensitive child. I just didn't know what my abilities as a child were. So I was mainly an empath, but I didn't know I was an empath. And for the longest time, I struggled through life like most empaths, and I just felt awful all the time. My first really experience was, I think, when I was practicing Reiki on an individual. That's when I noticed I started seeing all these imageries started coming up, and I couldn't explain. And I started knowing stuff about her, and I just started talking to her and talking about her grandmother. I can see her grandmother and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, she starts bawling. She gets up from the table and leaves the session. And at this time, I was actually practicing in a clinic. So my boss comes in and we're going, what the heck just happened? And I just explained to her, just telling her what was going on with her body. And I was just talking about her grandmother, and she got all upset and left. And I was like, oh crap. I guess my spidey senses were just a little overloaded.
Yeah.
So that was really the kind of the first one. And then after that, I started going, okay, I need to get a handle on this and figure out what the hell's going on with me. And so I actually went to a friend of mine who actually was a psychic, and I had like this most incredible reading. And then I basically based my work off his work. And I was just saying, okay. And then he just told me the whole litany. He says, you got this is this. And I looked at him like dumbfounded, like, really?
Yeah.
I think you're full of shit. I really do. I really think you're full of shit. Then things just started happening. I just started knowing things, and things started making sense. Like, okay, that's why I am why I am. That's why I feel all these emotions that are really not mine. It's just a process of just exploring that, understanding that, and just kind of just developing and moving forward with it.
So did you have formal training after that?
Mm. Yeah, and that was part of the reading, is that I needed to start training with it just to get a handle of it, because it was so overwhelming. Like, anybody who understands being an empath, it can be overwhelming. You walk into a crowd, you start feeling all these emotions. All of a sudden you get angry and you don't know why you're getting angry, and you're getting nervous energy. You just feel like crap when you get home. And a lot of it's not your stuff. It's just the energy you're picking up. It makes it difficult. So I had to learn about energetic boundaries. I had to understand about how to control it. I had to figure out what's my own crap. And that was a lot of things. I had a lot of underlying stuff that I had to deal with that was coming to the surface too, as well. Because as you start healing, right, you got your own emotional traumas and things coming to the surface. So I had to figure out what is mine, what's the other person. So the lines were very blurred on that. But yeah, I went to training. I had this beautiful, amazing teacher that I was recommended. I worked with her for a few years, and then I bounced around from other teachers too as well. Because it's just like one thing, you want to learn from one teacher, but you don't always want to stay with one teacher. It's like the same thing I learned in culinary. You don't want to stay in one restaurant for too long because your skills get weak. You want to expand and learn things and develop your own system and own understanding of what you're doing. So that's kind of what I did.
Yeah. You got to sharpen the knives. I get that.
Exactly. I like that analogy.
You were talking about being an empath, and I can relate to that. I will ask though, and guys, this is probably going to get really deep right now, because I don't think there's anything really superficial about Michael or myself. So trigger warning, shit's about to get deep. But do you feel that there's any correlation to being an empath and growing up in a traumatic childhood environment?
Yeah, it amplifies it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it just really, really amplifies it. Like, if you grow up in an unstable environment, right? As children, we're very susceptible to all these different energies and traumas and things like that, whether it's conscious or unconscious. And being an empath in general, you just don't understand, it's really not my emotions. Like, let's say if you had a very unhealthy mother and they're projecting all their wounds onto you, as a child, you normally pick that up. But as a sensitive child or somebody who's an empath, they really take that on. They really take that own emotion and they hold it in their body. So that can lead to feelings that there's something wrong with me. Why do I feel this way? Is there something bad about me? As a little kid, you get that programming, and those are beliefs that hang on to you for a long, long time. I know I struggled that for years. Like, I really thought there was something seriously wrong with me. And I still hold it to the day. And that's one of the things I'm working through right now. Like, I'm really, honestly, I feel like I'm damaged. That's what I really felt like. And over the past year, I really had to overcome that, because that was, facing the illness, dealing with my cancer this past year was really, really forced me to look at that too as well. But yeah, it doesn't make it easier, but like everything else, it's just part of the human existence. You know, we all go through shit, and some of
Yeah.
us just got different levels of it, but we all go through it.
Yeah. I think I was in a psychic work group earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, recently though, and somebody was very empathic and she was talking about her empathic abilities. And I was shocked when she told everybody that she had like the perfect childhood. And yet she was so intunely empathic. And I was like, whoa, 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 that goes against everything I've learned as an empath. I was like, usually people develop the sense of, empathy because it's hyper vigilant and always observing your environment for subtle shifts in energy, because that's how you know when to duck and get out of the way. And so I was just like mind blown that she had the perfect childhood, perfect life, and she's still very empathic. And that kind of gave my soul a little bit of like just fuel to say, okay, not everybody is as fucked up as I am, for lack of a better term, or as we are. And so, but I really appreciate you sharing that and being so candid about it. You did touch on experiencing cancer, and you and somebody else I hold very high in my life, my mother, are cancer fighters. And I'm very, very cautious about like the term survivor. I mean, I know it's necessary. Do you consider yourself a survivor, or do you have a term that you use
No,
for it?
I'm just a cancer participant.
Participant,
Yeah,
an
yeah,
involuntary participant.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm. There's so many people that go through this disease. Some people use it as a badge of honor sometimes, which
Yeah.
really bothers me. It's like, yeah, I'm a survivor. Well, a lot of people survive, you know. And then one of the things I realized about cancer, there's always somebody who's got it worse
Yeah.
than I do, right? And I just find I'm just very fortunate. Just I'm still trying to figure it out. Am I still trying to wrap my head around the whole ordeal and why? That's always the whys. Why did it happen? What did I do? Blah blah blah. But it's just I look at it on a larger perspective. It happened at the right time, at this time in my life. Um, if it would have happened like 10 years ago, I'd probably be dead. Be honest with you. I
Wow.
just wouldn't have the mental faculties to deal with the emotional roller coaster what it is. I'm still trying to figure it out for the most part. I know I have my good days, bad days. I'm very much an actor in some ways. I put the smile on and go to grind and do the work, but
Yeah.
it is a mental battle. It is such a mental battle. But yeah, I'm just one of those people that just got cancer. So what it is I can use it as one more thing that I can relate to people with. Um,
Yeah.
I've had other illnesses as a young man and even as a child too as well. It's given me a broader understanding of what the emotional and mental aspects of disease is and how the body could be triggered in so many different ways through repressed emotions and things like that. So it's
Yeah.
given me a different perspective on it too as well. Um, it's also
Can
given
you
me one of the things is I care more, but also I care less. If that makes sense. I just don't give
Yeah.
a shit anymore.
Yeah.
I sometimes I just don't have time for shit. I just really and that was interesting because I have, as you can tell, I have neck and throat cancer. That's why I'm struggling talking and coughing right now. But yeah, I just don't have time for shit. I just
I
said, you
love
know
that.
what? I almost got an exit, and it's like, fuck that shit. I need to get my ass in gear and just kind of just work whatever this is, and just try to live in the present moment and try to help as many people as I can while I'm still breathing and I still have a voice right now. And that's my whole only goal right now. And that was the one thing that upset me. People go, "Are you worried about dying?" And you get that as a cancer patient. You said, "Are you worried about dying?" And I wasn't really worried about dying. What I was really scared of is I didn't help enough people while I was here. That was my biggest fear. It still is. I still get emotional thinking about it. So
Yeah, I am as well. And I'm grateful that you're here and grateful that you're able to, because like I talked about before, you have been very, very generous with yourself and your knowledge and your discoveries and your journey. And that's going to help. And it is helping and will continue to help so many people. And how great it is that we live in a day and age where we can record our voice with what we're sharing, instead of just, consolidating it into writing and you have a book, which I will say, you give me author vibes. I feel like there's some
you
sort of
know
book in the
what
works for you.
you know what, you're not the only person that says that, and I've had other people who are on my show who are very very top ranked psychics out there. Like we're talking the echelon in their field. And they
Yeah.
go, what's the deal with you writing a book? And I'm going, I am not a writer. Like I actually I had a learning disability as a child. So I was very much a very dyslexic, right? So I had a hard time writing and comprehending stuff. And I just, if it's meant to be in there, I get this motivation, desire to do it, but I really don't have the desire. But it's funny. Obviously, I'm going to have to be writing a book now. It's
Something's
just
gonna
no way.
happen.
I just don't know when I'll start or what I'll do. But if you're like the fourth person that said it already, so yeah, I guess I might be writing a book.
I bet the book is already written. You just have to like group it all together and
Look
put
at
a
you,
little
Mr. Metaphysical. There, the book is already written, and they just got to
I
tune into it.
mean,
Now, I wanted to say, we're talking about earlier. You were saying you're going to blow some smoke up my ass, and I got to do the same for you, my brother.
uh-oh.
From the first time we met and we had a conversation, stuff like that, and where you've taken your journey, um, like now you got your own goddamn podcast. Like all of a sudden it's like you started doing this, you started doing that. I started seeing all these posts, and it wasn't like because some people are very timid about doing that, but you went all in. You just said fuck it, and you went with it. And that is the biggest thing that most people don't do when they start this journey and you're willing to trust in it and you did it. And I couldn't be
Yeah.
happier. Like I'm ecstatic. And it's like I found out you're saying I'm doing a podcast and I'm going, you're doing what? Really? Like look at you. Like what's going on with that
And
deal?
it's your fault. And
Yeah. I'll
you
take
know what that
blame
means?
for that. I'll take
Yeah.
blame for your
I
happiness. I'll take all of that. Yeah.
that's the best pat on the back I can get from somebody who, like I said, just you being you and being your authentic you. It's like there's tons of little me's running around who are just looking up to gentlemen like you who are doing the good work. And honestly, had it not been for me having you as a reference of what it could be like, or because it's really different. Like, sure, anybody can climb a mountain, right? But unless you see somebody doing that peak, or you're really, really motivated. And I feel like, and you'd given me a reading one time, and you were like, your guides are just like banging their heads against the wall, trying to get. And like now that I've opened up, my third eye and I'm connected, I'm like, oh, I get what he was talking about because I see it with other people, and I also see it with my own journey. Even when I get stuck, the difference now is that I have a resource of incredible minds that I can just hit up and be like, hey, what's going on here? Like, and also, guys, by the way, Michael is doing readings now again. But you took a
Slowly
moment
but surely. Yeah.
to heal. And I will say that I do want to touch on something that you've talked about on your podcast many times, the path of the wounded healer. And you just mentioned it a second ago, but you've had to deal with and overcome things throughout your life. Like, what does the version of Michael who never had a spiritual awakening look like? Do you know what that looks like? Is he existing in a parallel universe somewhere?
Yeah. He's probably dead in a ditch.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, yeah, I was down. I really had some dark times, really had some dark times. And as anybody has gone through traumas and things like that, I just didn't understand my life was such a shitstorm of stuff. And I buried all that trauma. I took all that stuff and I just shoved it down. And how do you cope with stuff like that? For me, it was drugs, alcohol, and women. That's was my thing, right? And I just said, if I'm going to die young, I might as well just die drunk and happy. You know what I mean? Well, I wasn't really
Yeah.
happy, but I just, that was
Numb.
the path. And things had
Yeah.
just started chaotically. It was a really a lot. It wasn't just like one thing. It was just a lot of things just cumulative. Like, obviously, I had a pretty traumatic childhood. I was also, really sick as a child too. I was, in and out of hospitals with pneumonia, so that didn't help a lot. That my father died when I was 6, and then after my father left, um, I started getting abused, and then I started having that issues. Right, so as a young man, it really messes with. Well, as a human, it messes with you in general. So that's part of it too. So I just buried all that stuff, right? And then a very toxic alcoholic stepfather. I had that issue to deal with too as well. And then I got sick again, really bad. I had a disease which is a neuromuscular disease like MS, and I got hit with it when I was 21. So I was paralyzed in a hospital bed, not able to walk or move or do anything, right? So that's a disease that's always been with me. And I had 2 bouts of it. So I had to relearn and to rewalk again and everything else. So I always had that. So when I said earlier that I thought it was damaged, that just added to all the other garbage that was spinning around in my head and my body and not understanding it. So I had that. And that's when I started my path where a little more self destructive. But
Well, I mean, there are people out there, especially in the metaphysical guru age, and let me just, and I'll probably do some big post about it, but I can't stand the word guru. I feel like if anybody wants a guru, they should build up the trust that they have so much with the relationship they have with themselves, and boom, that's your own guru. But, teachers, mentors, educators, peers, students, that's one thing. But please, for the love of God, anybody looking at this podcast or listening to it, don't think that I buy into the guru thing. But that being said, sorry for the sidebar.
no,
Um, I think that is a huge difference from people that manifest things, like addicted to drama, addicted to bullshit, addicted to pain, addicted to suffering. I think that's a perfect example of how you really didn't, maybe later in life it ended up like a manifestation type of circle because that's what you were conditioned to. But, starting off in life and having so many different hardships and obstacles to overcome, do you feel like your soul maybe planned that for you? Like people talk about soul
oh, 100,
contracts and
yeah, 100%.
okay.
Yeah, like when you talked about the wounded healer, that was part of who I am. Like, I mean, it was really interesting. I didn't really understand the wounded healer, but it was, the story of Cryon. The
Yeah.
idea of this great healer. I can do all these wonderful things, but it was always can never heal himself. And it was really, I had somebody do an astrology chart about it, and they looked at my chart and they said, you had that so big in your chart. And I was like, well, it really made sense because I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I'm really good at helping other people figure out their own shit
Yeah, you are.
and getting them on the right path. And whatever they needed to do, I was the guy. I was the guy to help you out of that. But I couldn't get my own life in order. I was just so much wounding, right? I could not heal myself for the life of me. And that was the other part of me that I knew. Like, why am I suffering so much? But that was just part of my journey. And I look at it right now as we probably got I'm in my 50s now, so another 40 years, maybe tops, maybe I'm going to be here. I understand now through a lot of people I've interviewed, life is eternal. I'm going to be with myself a long, long time.
Oh yeah.
So I can check off all these boxes. Like, okay, it's a learning. I've learned so much, and I don't begrudge it. I mean, there are days, like honestly, there are days where it's like, fuck, why me? What the fuck? Do I have to go through this again? Like when I first got diagnosed with cancer, I was just like going, I wasn't shocked. You know what? I wasn't like, some people go, oh my God. I was like, yeah, great. Another thing. Let me just check that off. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter how much therapy, different types of therapy, different things I was doing. I just couldn't feel right. It just didn't happen. And then also too, being an empath, I'm always feeling everybody else's stuff. So I was like, frick, really? But
Yeah.
it's just part of the course. It's just part of, I've just really learned to accept it and just move on.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that experience. Do you wonder where you stand on past lives? Have you had a regression yourself, or do you feel like you've had a
Oh my
past or
God. Yeah. Are
parallel
you
life?
kidding me? That was part of my healing journey. Like everything that you see on my show where I talk about, I've been through it. I've done it.
Like the
Um,
Dolores Cannon QHHT or
well, I
just
actually had a lady who was one of my first podcasts. She's actually from California, Ramona, if I think that was her name is. Yeah, we talked about that in past life. It wasn't exactly that, but yeah, I had some past life stuff. So it
nice.
had a lot to do with the 2 major incarnations that I had was basically through that. And it was one is that I abused the body, of course, but I was like the one thing which was really interesting. It was when I was actually a surgeon in Chile who decided to go into psychotherapy because I realized there was a mind body connection, and that was basically a lot of the stuff. But as I
Wow.
did that, I started taking on too much of my own clients' problems and psychological malfeasance and stuff like that. So it was really difficult. And that's part and parcel what I'm learning now is not to take on other people's stuff, but guide them and help them and understand a greater understanding of the mind body connection and how it affects disease and all that stuff. So that's part of it. But yeah, that was one of them. And the other one was I was a priest in Sicily, which was, it kind of explains my love hate nature
With
with
black.
yeah, yeah, I guess so. I never even thought about that.
You
Yeah.
need the little white collar, you'll be good to
Yes,
go.
yes, my son. Yes, yeah, just kind of that love hate, relationship with the church and stuff like that. But I did have a deeper understanding of God in the universe and creation, and there's a deeper sense. So it all kind of amalgamates together. But there was other stuff too that I'm sure that I'm not aware of that may have caused some, karma. Because we're always trying to clear that, regardless of it. We all have it.
Is karma one of those things? I'm still early into my studies with karma and dharma, but to my understanding, karma is just like the natural consequence or the reaction of a choice or decision in a lifetime, correct?
Yeah,
And but does it carry over to other lifetimes, or is it
sure it
all
does.
relevant because time is like parallel? It
Well,
has no beginning or end.
if you don't work through it and complete it, right? There's always a causality of being here and human, right? There's action and reaction, right? So if you're an asshole and you do asshole things, yeah, it's going to come and bite you.
Yeah,
It always does, right? I mean, even now we'll see that as people who are more involved, they realize that their actions have quicker consequences to their actions. So they're more aware of that. Most people are walking through this world blind and they don't realize the bigger picture and stuff like that. And that's one of the things that eventually they'll have to work out. And, we are infinite beings. So you're going to have a long time to get it to figure it out. You may
yeah.
skip a few lifetimes, but eventually you're going to go, do you remember that time where you were that scumbag back in the 1800s that you didn't deal with, or even now in 2023
Yeah,
that you did all this shit to others people and you know how many people you hurt because of your own actions? Guess what? You're going to have to do it. And it's inescapable. And that's the whole cycle of life and death. And it's very few people that can get actually out of that loop. But you have to do, it takes lifetimes. Like you think about, you may have done something in a good lifetime and you've kind of, your soul has gained on that lifetime. And then there's
yeah,
other lifetimes where you've lost. So there's always a plus minus, right? So you're trying to build that up. You take 2 steps forward in one life, you may take 6 in another. So you're
yeah.
always trying to balance that out and you're learning, right?
Yeah, I guess the real oh shit part about that is that when we're born, we kind of really don't have like our memories are wiped.
Yeah.
Maybe if we're lucky, then we become conscious enough to access higher consciousness and then, do all of those things if we're lucky. But I truly look around at my journey and journeys like yours, and then I look at the people that are still asleep, and I don't necessarily feel bad for them. More as I just really recognize how lucky I am and how grateful I can be with that because I realize that an awakening is not part of everybody's journey.
Yeah.
And there are
100%.
a lot of people out there. What are your thoughts on the NPC people? Do you know the non-playable characters? People are talking about that they're like the neighbor down the street who always waves at you, but then the theory is that they go into the house and like don't actually do anything because they're not a soul in a body. It's just like an automatic program running. What are your thoughts on that?
I've never heard that.
You haven't heard of the NPC? Oh my
No, I've
God.
never heard of that. Like, I mean, I've been a little bit out of the game for a while, but I never really heard of that. Yeah,
Get
yeah.
ready, my friend. I
Explain that.
mean,
Explain that to me again.
okay, so the idea of the NPC is more of a gaming term, like non-playable character.
Okay,
Meaning
so,
if you're
okay,
playing,
that makes sense. Yeah.
so if you're playing a video game, right, and you're Pac-Man and you're going around and you're chomping all of the ghosts, you're controlling Pac-Man to eat the ghosts, but nobody is controlling the ghosts. They're just a program kind of just running automatically, not like you would be the soul to Pac-Man controlling it, if that makes sense. But there's a lot of theories going out there that the reality is a hologram, right? Science is getting closer to proving that. I think the CIA released documents still talking about manifestation and the quantum field and all of these really cool topics. But there's this idea that some of the bodies walking around and moving around on this planet don't necessarily have souls. They're just here to help the people that do, like they're kind of like filler and fluff ornaments, if you will.
So
Or this and
characters like background characters in a movie.
yes. Hmm.
Okay. So they're
What are
trying
your
to bring
thoughts on that?
continuity. For me, it doesn't resonate. I believe, yes, they do have a part of it. They do have a soul. They do have a part in being background fillers, and that might be their soul's journey is to just to be really not out there like most people. They're just here to exist, live, go to work, come home, and just do their thing, watch TV, and that's really their soul's journey. That's it. It could be a part of their life is to just to chill out, just not to do anything
Yeah.
and not
You know,
to evolve or do anything. It's almost like a time. It's almost like you're in purgatory. You get this kind of hang out, just to relax and just have a human existence, but not too much drama, nothing too exciting. It's just very plain Jane, and that's it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that because there's billions of people on there just doing those sort of things. And again, the next lifetime they come back, they may be a great leader. I just had this conversation with a young, actually, it's on a podcast I'm going to be releasing, but talk about the epic story of a soul's journey that could be absolutely powerful, like two amazing, think of the most amazing, powerful lifetimes that you can think of historically in your life. And then the next life they come into, they don't have, they don't do anything.
yeah.
And, but they were meant to do something, but they didn't do anything. Like it happens. It just happens. It's just, it happens to do with free will and choice. And that's one of the things that we're grateful for. But having these kind of physical bodies that don't have souls, I really have a hard time wrapping my head around that.
You're actually spot on with your description, and it triggered a memory of something that I had heard, and I'm going to be basic and I'm going to look it up.
Sure.
And so I pulled it up. It reminds me of Gnostic teachings of the three different types of souls. Have you heard of this? It's like the hylics, the psychics, and the pneumatics. And basically, it describes exactly what you just said: spiritually unconscious, who will be extremely difficult or impossible to awaken; the psychics, who have some spiritual consciousness, but only from very simplified emotional perspective rather than a place of true knowing; and then the pneumatics are those who are spiritually awakened, elects, adepts who incarnate to become teachers of spiritual knowledge. I think, in more complicated terms, thank you for your insight on that, because yeah, I've been watching too much TikTok. I've got TikTok brain. I heard this, and that leads us into our next conversation or topic is aliens, right? So there's been
Oh,
a big hullabaloo about the congressional hearing that was happening over
yes.
some DNA evidence that was found that was not of this planet. And there was also the woman who was thrown off the plane in America. I believe she was in
Yes,
America.
I saw that. Yeah, it made the news cycle. Yes. Even up
Yeah,
here
she
in
was.
Canada, it makes the news cycle, even though we're not allowed to have any American news now because of our lovely government banning stuff on stuff on
Yeah,
non-Canadian content, as they say.
that's
So
so strange. But come on,
yeah, you know
everybody
what?
needs
This
world news.
yeah, but yeah, it's an interesting it was an interesting development on that. Yeah, if you were to tell me like 10 years ago that the whole alien thing, I would just like you're full of crap.
Same here.
But I'm really starting to embrace other ideas. I don't dismiss it. I've never had the experience. I have other people that are friends of mine who connect with the Galactic Federation. They're collecting to all these star seeds and celestial beings, or different entities from another world and other planets. And I have never had that experience. So I can't dismiss it because I haven't experienced it, I don't understand it. But I mean, is it out there? Absolutely. We've talked about it for years. The ancient times have talked about it coming from the stars. Other people have talked about coming from the stars. So to say that there isn't, but again, until we see it physically with our own eyes, because we still need that validation. It's like, all right, I need to start seeing aliens. But also, too, if you think about it, if you start looking for something, you sometimes subconsciously program yourself to look for things and see things.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things about it. But,
That's a wonderful point that you put out there. And I think one of the convincing things for me, I was thinking to myself, and this was, I think, before I had really connected with you and got a reading from you and got to know you personally. If somebody so grounded can interview and have what I would consider solid conversations with an expert on extraterrestrials or different out there topics, and you kind of sounded like you were believing it or open to it, really helped me be okay to exploring that possibility. And it's as simple as, do you necessarily believe it? Who knows? But are you open to it? It's very much a possibility. And I think the thing that scared me the most about the woman on the plane, and actually somebody that I had, so I do TikTok lives where I'll go live and I call it supernatural story time. And I'll let people jump on and they'll just tell me their story of whatever their unexplained or supernatural experience is. And one girl last night was actually telling me that in San Antonio, Texas, she was sitting on a bus and there was a reptilian guy. And I got to say, I haven't heard much about the reptilians, but you know where I heard about the reptilians on? Your podcast. I
I'm
mean,
trying, I'm trying to think, who did I talk to about reptilians? I have to go back and, because
I'm going to say
sometimes
it's
I don't
between
remember who
50
I
and
talked to, but I'm
65.
sure we brought it up.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I've learned so many different guys. Definitely go check out Michael's podcast because through Michael, I've learned about Lemurians, which I thought were just crystals until I deep dived, Atlanteans, Pleiadians, Arcturians. Like you literally, like you're Pandora's box of that's so if you could have one supernatural, metaphysical, woo-woo, for lack of a better term, experience in this lifetime, what would that be?
Ooh. Um, to reconnect with source.
Wow. What would that look like?
I couldn't even imagine it. It's just it'd be just something so purely divine and just full of love that I just probably blow my circuits of, just to reconnect with that sense of that that ever changing. I mean, this ever changing ability to just to absorb and just to radiate love in such a deep way, profound way that just it engulfs every essence of your body, of your being, and just be in that presence and to fully understand that that would be pretty trippy. Yeah, I think that would be. I think it'd be cool to see aliens and stuff like that. But I like alien stuff, but it's like, yeah, okay, you guys are aliens. Okay, cool. Let's go to
Yeah.
the ultimate thing in the creator. If you're going to go somewhere, let's go to the big guy, or the creator, the source, the universe, and connect with that energy and see what happens. But yeah, I think that would be my ultimate experience. But I would not say no to a bunch of aliens showing up on my balcony or something like that. We're hanging out. I mean, but yeah,
Bring your own beer. BYOB. That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. I have a few more questions and then we can wrap it
sure.
up. But another thing, I definitely want to get your top 3 reads of a spiritual journey that you can suggest.
Let me think about it. But let me just, I'm trying to look over my library over here and see what I can see. I mean, there's so many good people that have been influenced me that would be a really good story for people starting out. Well, you know what? Easy, yeah, one, Dr. Joe Dispenza. That's an easy one. I can't
Uncle
believe I
Joe,
never.
as I call him.
Yeah, yeah, Dr. Joe Dispenza, his work. I mean, absolutely love his work. Again, he's one of those people that bridges the science and spirituality. So it's like he said, he bridges the woo woo with the science. So for people who are more analytical minded and really don't believe in it, he really explains it, but he explains it in a very basic way to people understand. So big believer, love his work. He's got a lot of books out here. His recent one is Becoming Supernatural. It's a good thing. I always recommend people kind of watching his videos to get a feel of it. He's got a lot of question and answer videos and a lot of testimonials, but that book is a good one. Um, who else? Who else? Well, actually, you know what? I just finished reading a book from Anita Moriani about being an empath. That was a really good book for those who are sensitive or trying to build energetic boundaries, things like that. That was good. There's some classic books too as well. Oh, geez. You know what's a really fun book? E Squared by Pam Grout. That's a fun one.
Ah,
It's an easy read. She's got a few books about it. It's just a very simple, easy read for people who are just starting in about the whole idea about manifesting and energy work and stuff like that. I mean, it's a fun one. It's not a really out there woo woo one, but yeah, that's a
Michael.
good little book.
Michael, I am so shocked. Not even an honorable mention to anything Edgar Casey.
Oh well. I mean,
I
that's
thought
a
I
little
knew
that
you.
well, I mean, yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna get in shit for that. Yes, I mean Edgar has been a big, huge influence in my life. Huge, 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 and that's how I developed my readings around his style and stuff like that. Of course, you can read his biography. Of course, I mean, for most people, it's a really interesting time. You got to, about his abilities and who he is, the most documented psychic ever. Everything that we really know about Atlantis, Lemuria, all that stuff about he was like the forefather of holistic medicine. His health readings saved thousands of people. I think he's got over documented documented down 14,000 readings in his lifetime.
Wow.
Yeah. I really can't believe I didn't talk about that. But anyways, I'm talking about it now. You can always pick up his book. There's two books. There is a River by Thomas Segura, and then there's also a biography by Sidney Kilpatrick. Actually, I had on the show, which was kind of
Well, that's
really
cool.
nice guy, really, really nice guy. So I had
Yeah.
him on and we talked about his book, and we talked about a lot of the secret readings he did, you know, during the wartime, before the wartime too, as well. For also, he did a lot of readings for a lot of the top, like Edison, those type of guys.
Wow.
Tesla, he did a reading for Tesla. He also did some readings for, I believe, the president and a lot of the council too, as well in the United States, prior to World War II and during World War II. So it was really interesting about that. But yeah, geez,
Thank you for
I
sharing
forgot that.
that. Yeah, like I am curious to know your thoughts on if we can be tested, because I feel like a lot of the tests come up inconclusive, but if it wasn't worth investigating, I don't think the US government certainly wouldn't have spent thousands upon thousands of dollars researching psyops and psychic
Oh,
operatives.
100%.
So,
Yeah,
what are your
I
thoughts on that?
believe, I don't know if it's ions or the noetics. I think it is ions is the correct.
Noetic sciences or something like that?
Yeah, I think it is. And they actually have a thing that you can talk about and get tested on and figure what your abilities are, right? But
Oh,
it's
the
also too,
Institute of Noetic, yeah, ions, yeah.
yeah,
The
ions. Okay,
Institute of
great.
Noetic Sciences. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going crazy.
I
But yeah, I believe they have things that you can learn about practice and doing practicing your psychic abilities and figure out, and get tests and stuff like that. But generally we all have the abilities. It's just levels. It's just a matter of opening up and just levels of it. It's like we all can learn how to drive a car. We can all learn to play the piano, but we're not going to be all master piano players, right? It's just a skill that's part of who we are, our path, life journey, what we've done in other lifetimes that we've accumulated, because we're just an accumulation of all our skills and talents. We think we build them up in this lifetime. A lot of them are from other lifetimes that we're bringing forth that we can use. And that's what it makes it so much easier, is like, oh, he's just a natural. Well, yes, but it's also, he acquired those skills in another lifetime, and it's part of that memory bank of the soul that
yeah.
you just kind of pulling that up in something that's triggered in this lifetime to get you to use those type of gifts. So
Well, I love that. I think that you're like the metaphysical Anderson Cooper from Canada.
I don't know about that, but
You're just delivering all the helpful tidbits. I sorry, I had to be silly. It wouldn't be me if it
no, it's
wasn't a
okay.
Cooper.
I get that all the time. When I was younger, it was funny. When I was younger, I actually had really darker hair, and I was a little more in shape and had more of a structured jawline and stuff like that. I used to get like Jean Claude Van Damme when I was, because
No
I was a little
way.
more muscular and stuff like that. So, but then now that I'm older, because I was just getting my hair cut a couple of weeks ago, and one of the barbers was saying, "You look like Anderson Cooper." And I was like, "I'd like to have Anderson Cooper's money. I like to have that
No
kind of paycheck."
joke. Yeah, but I don't know. He's got some interesting family karma there. But
Yeah, but that's okay. His paycheck at CNN, I take that.
money talks.
Yeah,
Well,
sometimes.
Michael, that leads me into the next and last bit for our conversation, but you are teaching now, right? Can you
Yeah,
tell us more about that?
yeah. I developed a course, and this was a couple of years ago. It came out of a discussion I had with a friend of mine who's an acupuncturist and Chinese medicine doctor, and she was talking about her gifts and stuff like that. And I said, I can help you with that because that's what I was naturally doing with my clients, anyways. So I found out that she had some like really super freaky psychic gifts. And so I developed an idea about how to understand and develop energy interpretation. It was mainly geared towards health practitioners, but I realized a lot of people who are also intuitive, that they can develop that too. And it's just a fundamental way of developing using some of your basic psychic skills. And we learn to interpret energy patterns within there and help basically look at people and understanding through a holistic perspective of it, and also understand that there is a psychospiritual aspect of it too. And we use symbology. We work on symbology. We look at shapes. We look at colors. We look at directional flows of energy, and again, helping that. But it's just a really kind of neat, fun way of just adding another tool to your toolbox that you may have or you may be interested into. So I've only taken on a couple of students because it gets really in depth. I'm just slowly getting back into in working in energy and stuff like that because I'm still recovering. But yeah, it's been a fun time, and it's amazing me. The students I've had lately, mind blowing. Like they really freaked me out. Like I was like, I can't, like their skills of being able to diagnose and see different things and patterns. Like it was just like I was like, wow. I mean, I thought I had mad skills. They just literally they're just like I like calling them my freaks. Like they're like super freaks. It's unbelievable. And I'm so happy because they're finally utilizing everything. And all I'm doing is just guiding them, just like, hey, what do you think about this? What about this? Did you see about this? And they go, oh, and then the light bulb turns on and then they off to go. And I'm so happy that they're using it and they're using that in their own practice. So, which is great.
That is so cool. And I can validate that I did get one-on-one training with Michael. Actually, I think you were technically my first teacher.
Yeah,
And
so a lot of the same stuff that we talked about colors. So what I try to do, because obviously you're very much a visual person, right? So we had to figure out. So this is one of the things we do. We figure out what is your strengths, whether you're a visual, audio, an empath or a clairsentient, things like that, and we try to figure out what is the best way to do it, and then we work on the weaker ones. And so if you're a visual learner but you're not really a feeler, we work on the feeling thing. So I try to make sure that everything is in balance. But we go to that, and so obviously colors. We work with colors with you, and you say, okay, what do the colors mean? So
yeah,
I say a lot of people say, well, I can't see the colors, but I say, can you feel the colors? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I can feel that color. And it's just a light bulb comes off. And then all of a sudden it's like the floodgates open, all this information starts downloading into them. And then it's like, yep, 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 yep. And just the amazing results that they see was just, it's phenomenal. So it just brings me joy that I can have the opportunity to help people. It's just another way of doing it. I really enjoy teaching. I wish I had a classroom that I could really bring people in and do a lot larger, but right for now, just the way things are, I just got to do it online. So
and I feel like
yeah,
it gives a lot of people access to you that maybe normally wouldn't have access to you, just from physical, just being on the other side of the world. But is that classified as medical mediumship, or what is
it
termed?
can be. I try not to because it's really it's not a course in disease pathology. Originally, I designed it for health practitioners. So, and that was the idea, was that it was basically the mediumship part of it, or understanding the medical intuitives, is really based on the individual's practice, right? So if you're a Reiki person, you can't be diagnosing somebody with cancer, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
big no
Even though
no.
you may see an energy pattern, you can't really go, oh, by the way, like, yeah, that's not part of your curriculum. And you really don't want to be adding that trauma to somebody, even though you may legitimately kind of see it. That's not part of your parameters, right? So we move away from that and we look at energy patterns. I would love to eventually do something like that and to work in a naturopathic college and help them and work in disease pathology, because my background is in health and fitness anyways. That would be a really interesting thing. Somebody who's been misdiagnosed in disease, that was one of the kind of the core things that I found that it'd be really interesting if a lot of your doctors and things like that can intuitively understand what's going on with you prior to it, just like, Mr. Edgar Casey used to do, doing his readings, and do it accurately enough that you can actually heal people. So just imagine a system where you can fundamentally treat and understand disease without all these different pharmaceuticals and tests and stuff like that, and know right away. Because if you don't get diagnosed right away, that's when the problem happens. So it was just an idea, that a philosophy that I thought might be interesting to pursue.
Um, I I just have to close this off then with, if you or do you have any bits of wisdom or a message you can share for our audience who are just discovering you, about anything, about
Oh,
life,
geez,
about,
bits of wisdom. Probably not, to be honest with you.
I mean, the whole episode is like a big giant
You know what? I think for the main thing is, I guess, is really just how to be kind to yourself. Really be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. It's an epidemic of lack of kindness. We've really gone away from that. Really start looking at yourself. We look at other people and we blame other people for problems in our life. You really have to look inside and fix what's going on with that. I think that's really the most important thing. Is the only way to really change this world is to elevate our own consciousness individually and then get together as a group and try to figure things out. I love this quote. It's like, love yourself like your life depends on it, because that's really important. And not in a really hedonistic way of loving yourself, but it's just a loving, kind, compassionate, brotherly love. Take care of your neighbors, just build a community, help one another. That's the most important thing you do. There's always somebody who's got it worse off than you. That's one thing I realized, that I always remember that when I'm having a crappy day and I think my life's miserable, I know there's some soul out there, somebody who's suffering way worse than I am. And that's the only thing I can really think of at this time right now, is just try to be kind to each other, be kind to yourself, start doing your work, and just have a childlike sense of exploration. Look for things, go out things, challenge yourself, and just play a bit and just take it easy on yourself and don't beat yourself up. We've all made mistakes. God knows I made a frick a lot. But yeah, just be kind to yourself on that, and forgiveness of yourself and forgiveness of others. I think that's another one that you can throw in there too. Yeah, I think that's all I got there, brother.
Well, thank you for taking us to Metaphysical Church today. That was
Amen.
wonderful. I know, right? Amen, brother. You guys, if you have not fallen in love with Michael by now, I don't know what's wrong with you, but if you want to find out more about him, you can definitely find him on Instagram. He is at the Metaphysical Guy, correct?
That is correct, sir.
And Metaphysical Mentor podcast on all the platforms. And do you have an open schedule for new clients for readings?
It's right now, because it's so chaotic between the readings, recording, podcasting. So I don't have a schedule form or website. Just drop me an email. It's all the links are on either on my podcast or on my Instagram or Facebook. Just send me a quick little email or DM me real quick. Just say, hey, I'm interested in reading. But the best way, I just send everything through an email. So if you just use my email, michael@michaelphilpott.com. Email me, say you're interested in reading. I'll give you all the details, what to expect. But if you can go on to my Instagram, you'll see, or my Facebook, you can see some of the testimonials too. So you get an idea about how I approach things and what my clients are saying. So you kind of get an idea, because I'm not like a traditional psychic. I don't really consider myself a traditional psychic in that sense. A lot of the stuff is changing, to be honest with you. Most of my stuff is really actually channeling stuff now from spirit, which has really opened up a whole new can of worms in one way. But yeah, if you got a chance, I would love to be able to help you. I'm only taking limited clients right now. If you've been listening, I'm still working through recovering from cancer. So I'm just trying to just get back in the groove after being off for years. But yeah, I'm only usually taking 2 clients a week right now. Awesome. I love that. Also tune into your show too as well. I'm so happy that you're doing your show. I'm really impressed with what you're doing. You've taken action, and I just can't commend you on that. You've been a really good support over this past year. I wouldn't be here partially without you, my brother. You give me a lot of words of encouragement in my darkest times, when I thought really wasn't think I was going to get out of bed and I wasn't going to make it. You would send me a post or something, and your support and love was really, really, really appreciated. So again, thank you, my brother. I really appreciate that. So
I'm humbly grateful for you. And thank you for your words. You're going to make me cry on a podcast, and I'm going to have to.
Don't worry. You can't see it right now, but I'm tearing up as well. So don't worry, brother.
It's been a very emotional day. But thank you so much, and cheers to many more. And everybody, the links will be in the description box. Michael, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, my brother.
I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Consider giving us a like or a follow. And if you want to find out more about today's guest, please check out all the links in the description box. Until next time, Woo family.